Thanks so much for joining me for this session of Dr. Plotzker's Mind. Well-intentioned ignoramuses are still ignoramuses, and as a physician, people try to make sure I did not function above my level of skill, though I often probably was forced to function above my level of knowledge. I got a little bit annoyed at one of the um, Osher Institute instructors today. He deserved my annoyance. Um, Probably nice fellow, definitely well meaning fellow, um, not staying within his lane. He's apparently a retired school teacher who probably did that well. He has an interest in religion and seems to have a certain amount of knowledge. Though I must say, I hope his uh, students, when he was working, got a livelier session out of him than I get. But that's not a reason to get annoyed at somebody. What we have going on now that the world knows and will probably endure a little bit, though not forever, is a conflict in Israel. Um, Basically, uh, a paramilitary from Gaza trained for their 15 minutes of fame. And while the internal structures of Israel were breaking down from infighting, these people, or maybe Vilda Chaya would be a better term, saw their opportunity to make their statement and in their mind make a difference in their next step to eradicate Israel from the global map. Uh, on Yontiv, they uh, proceeded with a coordinated attack and basically with extreme ruthlessness and no regard whatever for the restraints of warfare that followed World War II. They started taking hostages. They started uh, indiscriminately shooting at civilians, terrorizing passersby, and basically people who caused them no harm. And then they, oi, 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 when their health facilities and mosques were get attacked, uh, as storage places of weapons when they thought that they could do them without attack because they were hospitals and mosques, and that international warfare respected their sanctity. Turned out not to be the case. And, needless to say, the IDF has a mission to protect the safety of its citizens. And in order to do that, there's going to be some invasion of Gaza, where it's difficult to isolate combatants from civilians, so there are going to be some civilian casualties, something that the attackers anticipated and thought they could capitalize on in the global publicity forum. It's too soon to know how that's going to turn out, But the President of the United States, who I have met more than enough times, um, was not ambiguous at all. This was evil. This these are violations of norms of conflict. Well, this well-meaning but not very well informed kind of elderly man. I imagine he's probably in his 80s. Has is past his prime physically for sure, probably mentally. Though still able to teach the Christianity course, starts teaching us about the conflict. He comes to the classroom with basically a talking point sheet from the Muslim Brotherhood and gave us the good people on both sides speech, for which he was challenged. First of all, the Palestinians were not forced out in 1947 with the partition. More of them fled, more of them were told to flee by their own leaders with the expectation that they would come back. During the partition, uh, Israel voted to have their state. The other side of the partition voted not to have their state and to be annexed to Jordan. In 1967, there was an attack on Israel that went partly from Egypt, partly from Jordan. And as a matter of security, uh, the Israeli army captured that area that was once part of the sovereignty of Jordan, which didn't particularly want it back. And that's kind of where we are. That's how the Palestinians got where they got. But contrary to this teacher's presentation, the sides are not equal. That simply put, the Israeli soldiers do not hold children in front of them and dare somebody to shoot them. The Palestinians with weapons have done exactly that. And I personally have met an IDF soldier who had to make that decision at the spur of the moment. That the uh, Israelis do not indiscriminately gather up whoever is there who is of no threat to them. They need to um, secure weapons so they can't be fired on them. Um, the attack included some sophisticated rockets, all coordinated. Well, who gave them the rockets? That these Gazans are using funds that are intended for humanitarian purposes and diverting them to means of attacking the neighbor state. And the Muslim Brotherhood talking point that this well meaning but not very well informed old guy uh, was referring to did not mention how those funds were diverted for the purpose of attack. No, there are not good people on both sides. No. The president made that very clear. And I think people know what a hostage is. I think people know what a shooting of a citizen who did nothing to merit being shot is about. One of the victims of the Pittsburgh massacre was a personal friend of mine from college. The school shootings that get all the publicity, those kids did not deserve to be shot. They were shot by a criminal. The Israelis are being shot or being butchered by criminals, and they need to be called that. It is probably not quite right for me to do anything of a reprisal nature against the teacher other than make it very clear in my course evaluation what he did and the requirements that teachers uh, who carry the banner of the state university stick to things that they have proficiency with. That did not happen today. Thanks so much for sharing this session of Dr. Plotzker's Mind.